The story of Moses and Pharaoh is one of the most famous stories in history. In this video, we will look at the relationship between Moses and Pharaoh. We will see how they first met and how their relationship progressed throughout the course of the Bible. Now, before we get into the video, we want to encourage you to subscribe so that you can be notified whenever we post new videos. Also, be sure to stay until the end because we have a special message for you. Let's begin. Hundreds of years before Moses was born, the children of Israel were living in Egypt as slaves. They had been brought there by Joseph, who was sold into slavery by his jealous brothers, but who eventually rose to the rank of vizier under Pharaoh. Before his death, Joseph predicted that someday his family would become so numerous that they would be hated by the Egyptians and forced into slavery. And that is exactly what happened. Pharaoh became afraid of the Hebrews because of their rapidly growing population. He was also angry that they were foreigners living in Egypt. In order to control their numbers, Pharaoh decided to make life difficult for them and force them to work harder than ever before. Every Hebrew woman who gave birth was ordered to allow her male babies to be thrown into the Nile River. Amidst this intense oppression, a Hebrew woman named Amram and his wife Jochebed conceived a baby boy. According to the law, the child should have been killed, but Amram and Jochebed refused to comply. Instead, they hid the baby named Moses in a basket among the reeds by the riverbank, hoping that Pharaoh's daughter would find him and adopt him as her own. As God had predicted, this plan worked perfectly. Pharaoh's daughter came across the basket, saw the beautiful baby inside, and took him away from the river. She then named him Moses, which means drawn out of the water. And so Moses grew up in the palace of Pharaoh as the son of the Egyptian king. He was given the best education available and was trained in all aspects of Egyptian culture and religion. However, despite his privileged lifestyle, Moses learned about the mistreatment of his people at the hands of the Egyptians. And as he got older, he became very upset about it. One day, while walking through the city, Moses saw an Egyptian man beating a Hebrew slave. Without hesitation, Moses confronted the Egyptian, knocked him down, and killed him. Although this was a good thing from the perspective of the Hebrew slave, Moses knew that Pharaoh would not take kindly to the murder of an Egyptian citizen. So he fled into the desert of Midian, where he lived as a shepherd. During his time in Midian, Moses encountered God in the form of a burning bush that was not consumed by the flames. At that moment, God told Moses that he had been chosen to lead the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt and into freedom in the Promised Land. Moses was initially reluctant, but God reassured him that he would be with him and help him perform miracles to demonstrate his power. So Moses returned to Egypt to confront Pharaoh. Standing before Pharaoh, Moses boldly declared that God had commanded him to let the Israelites go and worship him. Pharaoh was furious and demanded to know who God was for Moses to presume to tell him what to do. Moses replied by saying, "The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of your fathers, has sent me to say to you, 'Let my people go, that they may serve me.'" But thus far, Pharaoh refused to listen to Moses. He continued to oppress the Israelites, which angered God even more. Over the next few weeks, God sent a series of plagues upon Egypt to demonstrate his power. These plagues included turning the Nile River to blood, a plague of frogs, a plague of locusts, hail, and darkness. All of these plagues failed to convince Pharaoh to let the Israelites go. Then came the 10th plague, the death of the firstborn. That night, an angel went throughout the land of Egypt, killing every firstborn son, including Pharaoh's. When Pharaoh woke up and realized what had happened, he summoned Moses and told him to perform the same miracle on his household. Of course, Moses refused. Instead, he told Pharaoh to get out of Egypt immediately. At that moment, Pharaoh finally agreed to let the Israelites go. He begged Moses to leave quickly, and the Israelites did just that. They left Egypt in such haste that they didn't have time to properly prepare for their journey. Not long after the Israelites left, Pharaoh changed his mind and decided that he wanted to bring them back. He assembled a massive army and marched toward the Red Sea. When Pharaoh caught up with the Israelites, he confronted Moses and told him that he had made a mistake in letting them go. Then Pharaoh told Moses that unless the Israelites returned to Egypt, he would kill them all. Obviously, Moses was scared, but he knew that God would protect his people if he trusted in him. Moses raised his staff and spoke to God, and suddenly the waters of the Red Sea turned into solid ground. This allowed the Israelites to walk across to the other side safely. However, as soon as they reached the other shore, God told Moses to raise his staff again. This time, instead of parting the waters were closed, trapping the Egyptian army inside the sea. And that's how the last of the plagues occurred. Every single Egyptian soldier was drowned. With the Egyptian army destroyed, Pharaoh would never try to capture the Israelites again. He had lost too much, both in the battle and through the various plagues, to risk another confrontation. After crossing the Red Sea, the Israelites wandered around in the desert for 40 years before finally entering the Promised Land. During that time, God made a covenant with them and established the nation of Israel. He gave them the 10 Commandments as a guide for how they should live and interact with each other. And so the story of Moses and Pharaoh teaches us that no matter how powerful or wealthy someone is, they should never treat others unjustly. It also shows us that God is always on the side of the oppressed and will fight for those who are being mistreated. Now, this brings us to the question, who is your greatest hero? Is it someone from the Bible, like Moses or David, or maybe someone from your own life who has inspired you to be a better person? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. We hope that you enjoyed this video and that you have learned something new about the story of Moses and Pharaoh. If you did, please remember to hit the like button so that we can continue to make great videos for you. Also, don't forget to subscribe so that you won't miss any of our future uploads. We have lots of new videos coming up, so you don't want to miss out. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Special thanks to our supporters whose names you can see on the screen right now. We appreciate your support, and if you would like to become a supporter, you can click the link in the description below.